My friends, I need your full attention today because something big has just happened. The DWP has finally made a breakthrough decision that's going to bring in 7 urgent new bank rules. And yes, they're going to affect every single pensioner across the UK. Now, I know that sounds serious, maybe even a little worrying, but stick with me, because understanding what's coming could make a real difference to how you handle your money, your pension, and your peace of mind. Have you ever noticed how the rules always seem to change just when you've finally gotten comfortable? One month, it's the pension payments, the next it's the benefits, and now, banking. These new rules aren't something you'll want to ignore, because they could touch on everything from how you access your pension to how your money is managed once it's in your account. Now, don't panic. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to walk you through it like a friend would. You know how when you sit down for a cup of tea with someone you trust, and they lean in and say, "You're not going to believe what I just found out." That's exactly how I want this to feel. Because these changes are real, and knowing them early gives you a head start before they officially roll out. I'll tell you this much. Some of these rules could actually make life easier, bringing more security and reducing risks you may not even know were there. Others might feel like a bit of a headache, especially if you've been doing things the same way for years. Either way, the worst thing you could do is stay in the dark and find out too late. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to break each of these 7 rules down, one by one, in plain English, with no confusing jargon. By the end, you'll know exactly what's changing, why it matters, and most importantly, what you should do next. So, if you care about your pension, your money, and keeping control of your financial future, you're in the right place. Stick with me until the end, you'll be glad you did. And before we dive in, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button right now. It helps more pensioners just like you find this video. And it shows me you want more updates that truly matter to your everyday life. Alright then, let's dive straight into it. Because I know you're waiting to hear exactly what these 7 urgent new rules are and how they're going to affect you. And remember, I promised you I'd explain everything in plain English, no jargon, no official nonsense, just a straightforward chat like we're sitting across the table together. The very first change the DWP has announced involves how pension payments are handled when they hit your bank. Now, you might be thinking, but I've been receiving my pension into the same account for years without a problem. That's true. And up until now, the system has been fairly predictable. But what's happening now is the introduction of new checks and processes before the money actually lands in your account. The goal, according to the DWP, is to clamp down on fraud and prevent errors, which, on the surface, sounds like a good thing. Who doesn't want more security? But here's where it gets tricky. These extra checks could mean delays if there's even the slightest mismatch in your details. Imagine expecting your pension on a Monday morning and then being told it's been held up because the system flagged something tiny. That's the kind of stress nobody needs. Now, let's move to the second change. And this one will hit home for a lot of people: cash withdrawals. You see, many pensioners still prefer to go down to the branch, take out their cash, and keep things simple. It's what you're used to, and honestly, who can blame you? There's something reassuring about holding your money in your hand. But under these new rules, banks are tightening up the way large cash withdrawals are handled. Some of you may already have noticed the questions at the counter. Why are you taking out this amount? What's it for? Well, expect that to become more frequent. It's part of an effort to spot suspicious activity, but unfortunately, it also means ordinary pensioners could feel scrutinized just for accessing their own money. The third rule change is all about online banking. Now, I know some of you watching might already be shaking your head, thinking, "That's not for me, I don't trust those apps or computers." But whether we like it or not, online banking is being pushed harder than ever, and under these new rules, pensioners will be strongly encouraged to use digital systems for security reasons. Banks are saying it's safer, that it protects you from fraudsters, and to a certain degree, they're right. But at the same time, I understand that it can feel overwhelming. Passwords, codes sent to your phone, remembering logins. It's enough to put anyone off. The fourth change ties directly into this, and it's about fraud alerts. Banks are under pressure to contact you instantly if something unusual shows up on your account. At first glance, that sounds fantastic. Your bank watching out for you like a guard dog. But here's the twist. These alerts can be a double-edged sword. Sometimes they flag genuine activity as suspicious. Imagine buying something online or even paying a larger bill than usual, and suddenly your card gets blocked until you confirm it was really you. Frustrating? Absolutely. But again, knowing it's coming can help you prepare. Keep your phone handy, answer those calls, and don't ignore messages from your bank. They might be inconvenient, but they're also there to protect you. Now, let's talk about the fifth rule, which might stir up some strong feelings: branch closures. Many of you have already seen your local branches disappear, and these new rules are going to accelerate that process. The idea is to cut costs and push more people into digital banking. But what about those who rely on that in-person service? What about the pensioner who doesn't drive, who can't just hop on a bus to the next town? This is where I feel the frustration really boils over. And let me tell you, you're not alone in feeling this way. I've spoken to so many people who feel abandoned by their banks, as if loyalty counts for nothing anymore. The sixth rule involves something a lot of pensioners rarely think about: savings thresholds. Under the new framework, banks are going to report more closely on large balances, especially for those receiving benefits alongside their pensions. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't about punishing savers, but it does mean that if you've got money sitting in an account, it could affect other entitlements. For example, certain benefits taper off once you cross a savings limit, and with stricter monitoring, it's going to be harder to fly under the radar. This is why I always recommend sitting down with someone, whether it's a financial advisor or a trusted family member, and reviewing how your money is arranged. Sometimes moving it around, or even just knowing the rules, can save you a lot of stress later on. And finally, the seventh rule, which might actually bring some relief: refund protections. Banks will now be more accountable if you fall victim to scams, particularly those cruel frauds that target pensioners. If you've ever worried about answering the wrong call or clicking the wrong link, this new protection could be a blessing. It means banks can't just shrug their shoulders and say, "Well, it was your mistake." They'll be required to refund victims more often, especially in cases where the customer was misled. Of course, prevention is always better than cure, so the more cautious you are, the better. But still, it's a welcome safety net. Now, I've just taken you through all 7 of the urgent new rules, but let me pause here and say this: knowledge really is power. The more you know about what's coming, the less it can catch you off guard. And let's be honest, none of us like surprises when it comes to our money. That's why I always say, keep talking about these things. Share this information with your friends, with your neighbors, with anyone you think might not be aware. Because when pensioners stick together and stay informed, we're much stronger. And speaking of sticking together, here's where you can help me out. If you're still with me right now, that means you care about this subject. It means you want to stay ahead and make sure your pension and your savings are safe. So do me a favor, hit that like button if you haven't already. It only takes a second, but it makes a huge difference. It tells YouTube to show this video to more pensioners who desperately need these updates. And honestly, it means the world to me too, because it shows me you value this work and want me to keep bringing you the latest news that affects your life. But before we wrap up, let me just leave you with this thought. Yes, these rules are urgent. Yes, they're serious. And yes, they will affect every pensioner in some way. But they don't have to be frightening. When you're armed with the right information, you can step into these changes with confidence. You can prepare, you can adapt, and you can make sure you're always one step ahead. And I'll be here with you, every step of the way, making sure you never face these changes alone. So stay tuned, because there's plenty more to come. But for now, you've got the knowledge, you've got the awareness, and you've got the power to take control.